Pierre Giroux of the Diplomatic Corps, faculty of the University of Guyana, colleagues, panelists, ladies and gentlemen. The initiative of the University of Guyana to hold public talks of interest to the citizenry is commendable. I wish to congratulate Vice Chancellor Ivor Griffith and UG faculty for such an engagement. The OAS recognizes the importance of higher learning centers in its member states' development process and promotes higher education, in particular, through its scholarship program. Last week, Wednesday, I was driving back home and was listening to the program Afternoon Request Show on the Voice of Guyana Radio. Auditors from all over the country were calling to offer their views on the US elections. They freely expressed their support for either candidate, often with passion. It struck me that all over the world, people from all walks of life take interest in such an event. Is it not an indication of their awareness that the US elections may and will have implications for them, especially those living in our region? Here comes the so what. The US have their election, so what? Why is there such interest? Responses may vary, but it is principally because of the sheer economic weight and political influence of the United States. We understand better when we think of the universal appeal of the United States, including phenomena such as CNN, Google.com, or even Coca-Cola, or the jeans we wear. Sometimes people use this cliche when the US sneezes, the world catches a cold. Also, this country is home to a large segment of the diaspora from all the countries in the world. Going further, it is clear that the US president holds considerable power to shape foreign policy. Just think of Richard Nixon and the opening to China, Barack Obama and the shift in the US policy toward Cuba. I had the opportunity to consult several colleagues and experts in the lead-up to this presentation. They graciously shared their views and analyses about possible impact on our region. They all concurred that continuity would have been assured in the case of a Democratic win. Otherwise, they would have some level of uncertainty at best and a bumpy ride at worst. I must say that the outcome of the elections came as a surprise to them, given the trends shown by the polls and other factors that were considered. As the Organization of American States representative, I would like to focus on the implications of the US elections from the OAS viewpoint. Then make two incidental points. I will leave to my colleagues, panelists, other complex issues such as immigration, trade, security, energy, and climate change. In response to an invitation to the State Department, the Organization of American States deployed its first ever electoral observation mission to observe the November 8th general election. Secretary General of the OAS, Luis Almagro, appointed former President of Costa Rica, Laura Chinchilla, to be the chief of mission. The mission comprised of 41 experts and observers from 18 different countries. As in every mission deployed by the OAS, this EOM observed specific areas in a systematic way, including electoral organization, the use of technology in the elections, political participation, financing, and media coverage. From the preliminary report presented on November 9th, the day following the elections, at least 4 observations are of interest to our region. The first observation is that unforeseen circumstances are likely to occur in almost every election. Therefore, it is important to always plan meticulously and have contingency procedures in place. In the case of the November 8th elections, long lines were a result of sporadic technical malfunctions with electoral equipment such as scanners. And as in the case of Colorado, with the statewide Colorado registration and election system, which collapsed for about 20 minutes. These technical challenges, however, were solved efficiently following the contingency procedures that were in place. The second observation concerns the biased design of electoral districts, known as gerrymandering, that has been a historic issue in the US electoral process. In various states, the mission observed a partisan design of the electoral districts for the House of Representatives, which affects the competitiveness of these elections. In California and Iowa, 2 states observed by the mission, the design of electoral districts is drawn by an independent, non-partisan commission. This practice guarantees clearer standards in the definition of district lines, thus increasing the possibilities for political alternation. In this context, the mission recognizes the establishment of independent commissions for the design of electoral districts as a better practice. The third observation regards the rhetoric during the electoral campaign. The Electoral Observation Mission observed with concern a rise in polarizing and divisive rhetoric during the campaign that could be interpreted as having a racial undertone. Furthermore, threats by one candidate to take judicial action against journalists for expressing their views and restricting their access to cover events were worrisome. The mission advocates for civil dialogue to prevail among opposing views. The last observation deals with the accusations of a rigged electoral system during the campaign. The immense amount of checks and balances throughout the process, the right to redress and appeal decisions, the effectiveness of the courts, and the transparency and publicity of the process remain paramount in the construction of the trust that citizens place in their institutions. Former President Chinchilla, the head of the mission, has argued that the US decision to invite OAS observers might also help the OAS persuade Latin America's most volatile democracies, countries like Venezuela, Nicaragua, to accept electoral observation missions, because many of them say, if the United States doesn't allow observers, why should we? Further, As my OAS colleague, Gerardo de Casa said, election observation isn't just for weak and unstable democracies. Every democracy is imperfect and can learn from its peers and from its failings. And that may be the broader lessons of America's 2016 election when it comes to democracy. Now, I would like to make two incidental points very quickly. First, the US electoral campaign and the election's outcome are indicative of a watershed moment in the international political system. They point to some spasmodic movement that could lead to some redefinition of the world order. These elections would be considered as the third Brexit of the year, the Colombia referendum being the second one. We will notice that Mr. Trump's appeal flowed significantly from his call to revisit and modify the US role in the world, especially in terms of security and trade, two issues of utmost importance for our region. Second, social policies have been under great stress in our region. We have seen major changes in social ideology as several countries such as Argentina, Brazil, and Peru have ushered in new governments. The rise of the political right in the US may intensify this trend with the potential of reversing gains made in the fight against poverty. We have seen the so what, now what? I believe President Granger hits the nail on the head when he said that CARICOM would be engaging the Donald Trump administration, especially when he assumes the chair of CARICOM early next year. He also made a very important point that even though the US government will effectively be a new administration, there remains continuity through the numerous partnerships in the region, such as the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative. Dynamic and constructive engagement with the new administration from the region seems to be the right position to take. Also, an article published last Sunday in the Antigua Observer under the caption, "In a crowded field for Trump's attention, the Caribbean must get into the game," makes a very valid point. I would like to quote a few lines. "The single thread running through the Caribbean responses is uncertainty. It causes government and businesses to pause, to adopt a position of wait and see. No one takes bold steps lest they backfire. At the same time, no one rocks the boat. But this cannot be a time for pause for the Caribbean, by the Caribbean. What is important is for Caribbean governments to try to influence the Trump administration to pursue policies in which there is, and at the very least, mutual benefit." In conclusion, our region will gain on at least two fronts: by early engaging the new US leaders and applying the best practices and lessons learned from the electoral process. Thank you.